What up, fishes? It's your boy Chillfish. How you guys doing today? Today we're talking about 5 archetypes that I believe can be made into Yu-Gi-Oh! Structure decks. The reasoning for these 5 archetypes becoming structure decks, I'll be explaining with each individual deck as itself. And by the way, this is not ranked. There's not 1 is not better than 5 is not better than 1, vice versa. Now the first structure deck, and I think this deck is way long overdue for a structure deck, is actually Red Eyes. Now the Red Eyes archetype has been getting a lot of new support in Legendary Dragon collections, all these legacy packs coming out, but there's one problem with all that in my personal opinion. It's really expensive. As a matter of fact, last time I price checked this deck, this was the most expensive out of the 3 iconic Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks to build. Yes, it's more expensive than Blue Eyes and even more expensive than Dark Magicians right now, which is kind of crazy to think because there is some good potentiality with Red Eyes as a whole. Another couple good reasons why I think this should be made into a structure deck is because this hasn't even seen a structure deck before. Yes, Red Eyes did come out in like the very first starter deck, Joey, but there's been tons, bajillions of copies of Blue Eyes and Dark Magician in the game, whether a structure deck, starter decks, whatever you call it. So I do think it's time for Red Eyes to shine. And one thing too is that this archetype does not necessarily have its own type specific Link monster. While there is a Red Eyes Link coming out in the future, I don't believe it technically qualifies as a Red Eyes, just more of as a support for the deck. So this would be a really good way to introduce a brand new product into the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And even keep pushing for that Link mechanic. And at the time of recording this video, Cybernetic Horizons has dropped, so the brand new Dark Link monster can actually benefit and probably see some play with this deck. So you'd be selling a product, and then they would also be wanting to go to another product, which that just sounds like sound business to me personally. Red Eyes is just a legacy deck. They need to have this stuff. We can get a lot of those cards cheaper into circulation. I mean, Red Eyes Baby Dragon is one of the best cards, and it's a ridiculous price tag for one card, especially for a deck that's not going to get you to win. This would really benefit both sides of the spectrum. We have the business side and the player's base. I do think a lot of casual players would like seeing this. Competitive, maybe this might be a way to try some things out, but it would be kind of a breath of fresh air versus kind of the lackluster starter and structure decks that we've been getting recently from Konami. Now, the second deck I'm going to talk about is a fan favorite. There's been tons of new support, so this would be a very interesting structure deck. So you could combine old support with new support. We're getting the new Hero and the new 5Ds. Megatin's coming out pretty soon, so this would also add to that kind of nostalgia throwback support. This would be Black Wings. Now, Black Wings is not the most kind of complicated thing to build, and there's probably a dozen new ways to play. I've not really done a lot with the new support since it's coming out, so there is possibilities for this as well. And very similarly to Red Eyes, they also benefit from that very same dark attribute Link monster coming out in Cybernetic Horizons. So again, kind of tying in with current product or the things that can make it kind of playable. And this deck of all decks needs a Link monster. You probably could make a Blackwing Link 3 monster. I'm not even going to talk about where arrows could be or even stats because we all could argue days on this one. But if you made it something decent, Blackwing players get a huge boon from this. Now, I don't think anybody really wants to see Blackwings in a competitive or meta format, and it's kind of like, honestly, the joke anime, like the meme deck of Yu-Gi-Oh! So to speak. But honestly, I think this is a pretty good deck. This would be really great. This has such potentiality also for being decently to learn mechanics for new players. Especially if they do get a Link, you can learn how to special summon, synchro summon, and Link summon all with one deck. And because this is a deck that does spam a lot of resources, in theory, this could benefit Links, so to speak. The third deck I'm going to be talking about for structure deck is Teller Knights. Now, this deck is extremely easy to play. That's why it was called, an autopilot deck for so long. This one worlds even, for crying out loud. And it also benefits from the light monster that's coming out in Cybernetic Horizons, as well as the Dark Link monster that's coming out. So this can just be some good stuff. This is especially useful for new players who play Yu-Gi-Oh! It's very easy. You got Altair from Graveyard, Vega from hand, and so on and so forth. The effects are very easy to learn and read, and I honestly think with the Link monster, this could create some sort of, I don't know, this could make a good splash in the meta if this were to take that route. I would be recommending it for current plays, but if there were to release this with a brand new Link monster to come with it, of course, everything gets better. They probably could even release a new XYZ monster with this. Ptolemaeus is still banned, but they could probably create a Ptolemaeus just for Teller Knights, and that would be huge for it. So there's another deck that I think could be extremely useful as a structure deck. Now, number 4 is kind of a weird one, and a lot of people may be like, Chillfish, this is kind of an interesting deck. Why are you picking this? I'm going to go with the Hunder family. Ma Hunder, Pa Hunder, Sis Hunder, Bro Hunder, all of that stuff. One, because Hunters are a very interesting deck. They're extremely good for brand new players, but not very complicated. They're XYZ stuff. Simple. You could also create a new Link if you wanted to, but you don't even need to. This would definitely be a product more catering towards fans who really want to start playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Or want to play a really casual kickback deck. I don't think this is becoming meta in the slightest. This would probably be the equivalent of Ancient Gears when the Dinosaur structure came out. It was still fun. People still picked it up, but it wasn't nearly as powerful or meta defining. But I don't know, I think this could be really good, partially because the Hunter line is kind of sprinkled out through all of Yu-Gi-Oh! So all these different sets have this support, so it's very cheap to build, but kind of hard to find. So this would be another way to bring that product out. Link again, I feel like I keep hitting on that target a lot, but this can do a few things. They're all light monsters, and I do believe they're all thunder monsters, so any link monsters that can benefit from or need to be created with, you know, two of the same type or attribute monsters can also see play in this deck as well. The last one I'm talking about, this one is really because, well, this is a very expensive deck, so if this were to be reprinted in a structure deck, this would be very beneficial for people who want to play this. Now, this would require some ban list kind of influence in order to create this deck. I'm just gonna go with it, Necroz. You're probably wondering, why Necroz? Why this deck? It hasn't seen any meta play in a long time. And you're right, this would require Shuret or some other level of adjustments to the ban list. I think Shuret to 1 would be enough to get this thing relevant, but think about that too. I mean, if you're talking from a business standpoint, Konami could easily be announcing this structure deck and then limiting or releasing a different version of Shuret or something like that, and they could tie the product with two different products itself. Especially if they reprinted Shuret, they would definitely make their money back if Shuret came back in some way, shape, or form. This could either be ban list first, then this product, or vice versa. Either way, business side of it, pretty effective. Now, on another level, unless I'm mistaken, there is no ritual structure deck out there in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And if there is, it hasn't been one in a very long time. And ritual summoning, it's more powerful than Link format than a lot of people give credit for, and Necroz definitely can be the deck to really take advantage of this. Now, there are other decks out there, you know, Cyber Angels, you can definitely play some Gishki stuff, but Necroz, guys, I love Necroz. I do miss Necroz. This would be way old school throwback format, but that would be huge. These cards still retain a ridiculous price tag on them, so this would be really good for people who want to play the deck and want to spend a lot of money. And this would also really be good for people who've, you know, held on to their expensive ones for so long, because as we all know, yes, when something is reprinted from a higher to a low rarity, it does lose some of its, you know, pricing for a little bit, but give it a couple of months or even a few weeks, this does rise back because people still want to bling out their decks once they get it. So yeah. Anyway, guys, those are just my 5 decks that I think can be made into a structure deck. What do you guys think? Is there any other archetypes that I missed while we were recording? Anything that I didn't think about or anything else? Please comment, let me below, or comment and let us know down below. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done already. It's your boy Chillfish from Rising Duelist, signing out.